I guess when you just like be yourself and in your most genuine possible way and are completely unafraid, that's when everything starts to fall into place. And that takes a while. Like, you know, rumors and opinions and all this stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, you get scared and you want to hold back a little. But then I was like, you know what? Like, none of this would be happening if I just was myself, and I went out and I was my silly self, and then you go and it all goes away. And then you're like, when you let go and you're like, here you go. Take it or leave it.
Whether you like it or not,
that's as simple as it can be. It's like, why hold back? You own life. Just have fun and be yourself, and don't worry about the rest. It all falls into place.
I was a victim masquerading as a survivor. I used to revel in gossip and rumors, and I lived for the negativity inflicted upon my sister actresses or anyone who I felt whose shine diminished my own.
I think what saved me is me being honest. And I think I somehow had the courage to do something and say something that I knew would possibly end my career. And instead of making business more important, I made my soul and my life more important. And I think by being truthful and by being honest, that saved me. And then I was given the opportunity to do something where I could actually just be myself and people could see who I am. And if they respond to it, great, and if they don't, great. And they've responded.
You don't have to be born into a situation. You don't have to come from something or possess something. You can just be you and have a dream and plant the seed and water the root.
Wait, go, do it, act now. And really accepting, we need you, we need you, we need you. You are the 1%, you're the percent that says, I'm gonna wake up. You are the light workers. You are the ones that have accepted this call in this lifetime. At this time, you have decided to wake up and chosen to say, yes, I'm here to be of greater service than just to feed myself, right? I'm here to feed the world. I'm here to give love. I'm here to be an expression of that truth. Don't hold that back. Don't play small. We can't. We need you. And so really, if you are anyone in this room who has been sitting on that book idea, waiting a little bit longer before you start that teacher training, or doing 10 more teacher trainings before you actually teach, if that's you guys, start. And the pressure will be off. I can't begin to tell you, I could cry just saying this. The day I taught Ego Eradicator, I was 2 weeks into my teacher training, and I said, F it, let's go. And I just went, and I felt so much pressure off. I felt so much lift. Because I just knew, I felt this technology must be shared. I can't hold it. I can't keep it for myself. I can't just sit in my apartment by myself like this. I gotta give this. And sharing it, the pressure that just lifted, it was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I wasn't the perfect teacher, and I look back and I was teaching Ego Eradicator wrong. Everyone's arms were like this, everyone was breathing backwards. It was a mess, but I did it, and I started. And in those moments when we just get to go, just go, the pressure is off, and then we clear the path, and we are guided to the next right action. And that is the most magnificent thing we could do right now.
I think I've been doing this long enough to realize that no matter what people perceive of me, I always shine through at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So I've had a lot of people try to tear me down, but I'm here. And I've always been myself, and I've always wanted that, and I've been graceful, and I've tried to handle myself with as much class, and it's only because I know how hard I work, and I'm not gonna let any of that get to me.
I shut it all off. And I'm in a, other than this interview, Oprah, I do not intend to speak to anyone for a very long time. This is my moment for me to experience a rebirth with my own music. I have to shut it all out. The noise, you know the noise. The noise, it's loud. You have to cancel out the noise and remember that it's your thoughts that matter.
I just like try to always push myself more than I pushed myself before. And, you know, I wasn't trained with dancing or anything like that. So I'm always trying to learn as much as I can from my choreographer and my dancers, and I'm around. I just try to have fun though, you know. I really love what I do, and I think I would be doing myself a terrible disservice if I didn't push and try to reach for more, and I would be doing my fans a terrible disservice too. So that's my inspiration, my fans, and just wanting to be as great as I possibly can.
You know, I grew up in Colombia, and Colombia is a developing country where a lot of people don't have access to the most basic needs, and where education is considered a luxury, unfortunately, because we all know that education is a birthright. And I just grew up frustrated seeing how many people weren't able to realize their own dreams, you know. When I was 8 years old, my dad underwent an economic crisis, a financial crisis, you know. He lost his business, and we struggled economically for many years. We lost our car, we lost our furniture, and I remember vividly the day I walked in my house and all the furniture was gone because my dad had to pay his debts. And it was quite, shocking for me, you know. I was 7, 8 years old, and when I saw this, I was so frustrated, and I'm so upset with my parents because I couldn't understand how they did so poorly in business, you know. I'm like, why, you know. I couldn't get it, and my dad and my mom took me to the park where they showed me other kids my age sniffing glue. They were orphans, they had no one to watch after them, and they were barefoot, and they were abandoned to their own luck. And it probably left such an impression in my impressionable mind at that age that I remember that day, and I remember that I made myself a promise. I said to myself, Shakira, you have to succeed, because you have to ride in a car again one day, you know. You have to get your own car someday. And I wanted to vindicate my parents socially and economically, and I also wanted to someday do something for those kids who I saw that day in the park. So as soon as I had my first big success with Pies Descalzos, which was my third album, I decided to establish my own foundation and do my own contribution to the change, even if it was going to be a small one. But I wanted to be active. And that's how it all started, you know, going through my own financial struggle and the struggle of my family, and understanding that the one thing that I never lacked was care, protection, and an education. And that's probably what made me thrive in life.
You know, I can tell them all I want, be yourself. It doesn't matter if people think you're sexy or edgy or cool, but if I don't lead by example, then I'm not actually conveying that message fully. So with this video, like, it's not a sexy video, but it conveys a message I really want to get across to girls, that, like, if that's not your thing, you don't have to try to be like everyone else.
From day one, I never tried to hide that I was the girl in my apartment with the red backpack. It's like, this is who I am, and I find that people end up rooting for you and opening more doors if you're really honest early on. Some people start businesses and try to come across that they're much bigger than they are because they feel like that's the only way they're going to be taken seriously. But if you know your product's great and you know why you made it, you don't have to apologize for being out of your home or your apartment or being small.
What fear is stopping you in your tracks and burning the soles of your feet? What if conquering that fear, whatever it is that keeps you from being what the Creator intended for you? What if you could unleash everything great in your life? Would you do it? Would you say yes to that?
You've got to find a way of no longer doing that thing you do that keeps you from getting the things you want. And how do you know when you're doing the thing that you do that is keeping you from getting the things that you want? You feel negative emotion. You don't feel satisfaction. And how do you know when you are allowing your thoughts to turn to things? How do you know when you are in a vibrational state of being where you are allowing a vibration to be received by you in thought form? How do you know that you're there and ready? How do you know that you're ready? You feel satisfied where you are. And what keeps you from being satisfied? Getting ahead of yourself and demanding that it be ready before you're ready for it to be ready. It would be like putting a seed of corn in the ground and waiting for 10 or 15 minutes, squirt a little water on it, and then feel disappointed that the corn hasn't come up out of the ground and yielded an ear to you. And if you're like most humans, after about a week of that, you just dig it up and eat it. Or call it a failed experience. You sometimes refuse to be satisfied in the process as it is coming. And so there are some things that we want to call to your attention today. We want you to leave this gathering understanding the value and the satisfaction of being willing to be ready to be ready. You got to get ready to be ready, to get ready, to be ready, to be ready, to be ready, to be ready. And you have to be satisfied in the getting ready part and not need to jump all the way over to the fully manifested part. That really is all that is required, because if you could understand, and sometimes you do, that your desire in all of its fullness is in the process of becoming, and that it is yielding itself to you, sometimes even though you don't know that it is. Sometimes even though you don't know that it is, sometimes things look like they are going wrong. When they are not going wrong, they are going into a point of clarity for you. It's a way for you to reevaluate something. It's a way for you to come to a new conclusion about something.
If things are upsetting you, make sure that your intention is correct. Like, why is this thing bothering me? Am I giving into my ego, or is this actually a real problem?
To witness it, to be the non-judgmental witness of it, to look at it and say, something's got to give, right? So if you're unwilling to look at your fear head on and honor it and witness, I always say, if you don't show up for what's up, it will keep showing up. So looking and saying, I witness my resistance, and you see that fear as resistance. It's fear is the resistance to what it is that you desire. And in the absence of resistance, you become a magnet for what you desire. When you let go of that fear and you transcend that fear, that's when you start to become a super attractor. That's when you start to let what is truly of essence for you into your life, what is truly of service for you into your life, what is true happiness into your life. And so looking at the fear, witnessing it, calling it by its name, and even if you don't have the tools yet, what happens is when you look at the fear and you're like, oh, I see this fear, I see this resistance, I see how it's blocking my life, and I choose to see it differently. That's when you're listening to an audio like this. That's when a book like yours will fall off the shelf.
A catalyst.
Yeah,
will open up.
Exactly. You open up your consciousness pretty much. You crack open your consciousness to find solutions rather than find problems.
Right.
And so when you're not looking at the fear, you're just living in the fear and you're believing in the problem. But when you witness the fear and you're willing to see it differently, you start living in the solution. As I commit to happiness fully, exactly what I need is coming towards me, because I become a magnet. I become an energy field that is so magnetizing, that is so excited, that's so inspired, that other people want to support and work with that energy. And so when we dwell in the energy of joy and happiness, we become a magnet for that which we desire. So my hope for you all is to start to think about the things that you want to succeed in, whether it's succeeding in romantic relationships or succeeding in your career or succeeding in your health goals, and make a commitment today to bring more joy to that area of your life, rather than seeing it as a struggle, rather than pushing forward with all this angst and negativity and neediness and control. Just bring joy to it. Your successes will come when you commit to joy, when you commit to happiness. So find more joy in that physical exercise. I've been going to Soul Cycle. I absolutely love it. It's so joyful for me, and that's helping me raise my butt, because that was one of my goals in success. And then we have these moments where we want to really bring joy into our career. Well, if you're having a hard time in the office, just find ways to have more fun. And as we start to elevate that presence of joy, we will begin to magnetize the successes in our life. And so take this very seriously, bring this practice into your day-to-day experiences, and make joy and happiness your number one priority, and recognize how your successes will be brought to you in a form far greater than you could ever imagine when your primary focus is happiness.
You know, when you're new, when you all of a sudden are like, you know, I just felt like I was, and it was my own fault. I kind of felt like I was stuck, you know, living my life the way, and that if I, you know, how dare they not like me anymore just because I suddenly revealed the truth of, you know, who I am in one aspect of my life. Not, you know, it's just, I'm just saying I'm gay. That's all I was saying. And I was so mad. I was so mad that I lost, you know, my show. I lost not just my show, but like nobody wanted to hire me for 3 years. I didn't have any offers. No, I mean, literally the phone did not ring for three years. And I had no money. I was out of money. I was just so, that tends to make people cranky. And then, you know, I just kind of, and it was good. It was actually, I'm very grateful for that time. I'm very grateful that I got to experience. It gave me more compassion. I know what it feels like to be out of money. I know what it feels like to be up and high, and like, you know, I was in a top-rated sitcom and very successful, and people treated me very well. And then all of a sudden, just because of one revelation, I was the joke. You know, I was the punchline of every late night talk show. I was made fun of in magazines. And it felt horrible at the time. And now I look back and I'm so grateful for it, because it really gave me a chance to examine myself and say, who are you without fame? Who are you without success? Who are you without money? And I kind of found different parts of me that would not have grown had I not experienced that.
Once you make that willingness to change, the book falls off the shelf, or the teacher shows up in a form that you could have never imagined. Or you hear something on the radio, or you meet a cab driver, or some enlightened conversation comes into your realm that all of a sudden is that shift that you needed to make that change and create that catalyst that becomes your greatest accomplishment, your greatest shift. And so that's all we need at first, is that slight willingness. That willingness that I had, that desire to change, that moment to shift, was all I needed to become the woman I am today, to live that life beyond my wildest dreams. And so when I became ready, I opened up and I said, okay, I'm ready for change. But what's beautiful, and what's the main purpose of what I teach, is that once you make that decision to change, you do not have to do it by yourself. You cannot be expected to make these changes on your own. All you need is that slight willingness.
It's about time to really embrace my individuality and my freedom as a woman, as a person. And that's a message that I encourage to other women. And that doesn't mean necessarily letting yourself being objectified, because that means satisfying the desires of other people. You know, I say, satisfy your own desires, you know, and live your life to the fullest, because it's short.
Hard work and discipline and rehearsal, and that's always the most thrilling way to earn applause. And everything that you've seen me do, I've always rehearsed a lot for it. So there's a lot of passion that goes behind it.
When I was 11, I had a casting director tell me that I wasn't strong enough to carry my own show. And I'm sure all of you have been told that you don't have what it takes, and that you may not be good enough, and you don't have enough people supporting you, and you're being told all of these things, when deep down it's all you want to do. You want to be a part of something great. You want to make something great. And it does more than knock the wind out of you. It crushes you when people try to tell you that you're not good enough. And it almost did for me, but there was my mom next to me, stronger than ever. And she said, the most important thing is to always trust in myself. If I'm doing something because I love it, I should do it because I love it, and I believe I can do it. So she told me to keep going. Thank you. She told me, and she taught me, to turn the other cheek and let the critics be critics, and let us just trust ourselves. So for me, thank you. 2 years later, I got my own show, and the first thought wasn't, oh man, that girl when I was 11 said I wouldn't carry my own show, and I did. I mean, I thought about that for a little bit, but I thought about what my mom said. My mom was like, you have to trust yourself, and I realized if I didn't believe that I could do it, I wouldn't be able to be here.
Resenting somebody else, you're really just unconsciously resenting yourself. So witnessing very quickly, who do I need to forgive? Is it me? Is it somebody else? And very quickly turning it back onto you and choosing the pathway of forgiveness, forgiving yourself for having a judgmental thought, forgiving yourself for being in attack, forgiving yourself for having a feeling that is unkind, forgiving yourself for being judgmental towards yourself or attacking towards yourself. Whatever is up for you in the moment, just practice the F word. And if you can't get to the feeling of forgiving yourself, say that you are willing to forgive yourself. Just saying in that moment, I'm willing to forgive myself for XYZ. I'm willing to forgive myself for being in this bad mood. I'm willing to forgive myself for what I just said. I'm willing to forgive myself for what I'm holding on to. And just opening yourself up to the practice of self-forgiveness will change your mood and your energy in a minute or less. I swear by this. This is probably the key to my freedom, my happiness, my successes, is my willingness to forgive myself. So take that in and really own that for you, and practice the F word all the time. So the next time you notice yourself in a bad mood, it might just be right in this moment right now. Just say, I'm willing to forgive myself, and see what unfolds. See how your energy changes, see how your feelings begin to shift, and see that bad mood just dissipate instantly.
In life and in any career, you're going to have your journey. You're going to have your ups and your downs. And, you know, when it's rough, it's rough. It's not, I don't think any person that wants to win likes failing or likes having those moments. But those moments to me happen for a reason. They happen to make you better and stronger. And I say that to say that it does feel good to receive love, because I know the passion that I put into this project, and I know my journey prior to this, and it feels good. You know, I can't lie and say that.
There are no idle thoughts. So if you want to live a mindful life, you have to recognize the magnitude of your thinking. If you're sitting here and you're judging your loved ones, or you're judging a friend, you're weakening your own energy and you're weakening theirs. Every being around you in some way is picking up the frequency of your thoughts. Some people are looking at me perplexed, like, what the hell is she talking about? Right now I can hear your thoughts. I know exactly what you're thinking. It's not that I can hear it, it's that I can feel it. Think about it. You know, you could be in those relationships where, like, you're your boss and, you know, you do everything perfectly, but in your head you're like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And they don't want to promote you. They don't want to support you. There's constant tension within the relationship. You could say all the right things, but if you don't think it, if you don't transform and clean up your thinking, then you're literally polluting the planet. So first and foremost, we gotta think about what we're thinking. And so how do we change those thoughts? Because you might be thinking, okay, that sounds great, but like I'm down negative Nancy lane and I don't know how to change direction. How do I make a U-turn? All right, so some simple tools. First and foremost, witness it. Yesterday I was saying this, look at your crazy and call it by its name. It's fear. When you see those crazy thoughts show up in your life, when you hear those thoughts of, I'm not good enough, I'm better than, that person's terrible, I have two choices. I can continue down the road and I can continue down that dark path, or I can actually pivot, I can redirect, I can choose again.
I like to stay happy, and I like to live life light and make the best of life. And I think that when you carry a certain kind of energy, or if you have like a funky energy that you hold on within yourself, you just can't grow and you can't really like move how you need to. So for me, I just like to be happy and cool with pretty much everybody, you know, and that's just pretty much it.
Working on my craft and making sure that it was perfect so that, you know, that when finally I would get that opportunity, I'd be ready for it.
You are who you surround yourself with. I know that's such a cliche quote, but it's true. I've just witnessed it too much. It's easy to get caught up because, of course, you're thrown things, you're given things that are fun and exciting, but it's just, at the end of the day, success is nothing if you don't have the right people to share it with. You're just gonna end up lonely.
Isn't it nice how life keeps presenting more to you, so that your idea of what you prefer continues to evolve? You recognize that. Do you think that you are doing a pretty good job of vibrationally staying up to speed with your desires? Or are there gaps between what you want and what you expect? You know how you can tell? 2 ways. How satisfied you are along the way. If you are not resisting the evolution of your own desire, you feel satisfaction even if it has not manifested. And the other way is how long it takes. If there are things that you've wanted, or if there is something that you've wanted for a long time, and it continues to not manifest in the fullness in the way you want it to, well, then that is an indication that your habit of thought is contradicting your own desire. And it's easy to understand why that would be so, because so often you are giving your fullest attention to what has already manifested, to what you want to say what is, to the current situation. So if you want more money but you don't have enough, and your attention is always upon, or usually upon, how much you've got or how much you haven't got, then you may have a vibrational tendency that is actually pushing against what your desire is. So there's a discord, a resistance within your vibration. And even though law of attraction is responding to your desire as you are emanating it through thought, law of attraction is also responding to your patterns of thought that you would call belief or expectation. You do get what you think about, whether you want it or not. That's really a simple way of describing how law of attraction works. But in order to really fine-tune this business of deliberate creating, and after all, it's only deliberate creating that is truly satisfying. It's only when you do it on purpose so that you're able to pay attention and even measure the satisfaction factor as your desire in its vibrational, or what you may want to call thought form, evolves into the see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it version. In other words, there is a gestation process. There is a process of becoming. And the amount of time that it takes from the inception of an idea, you might call it that, and its full fruition really is about what you are doing. And it is really only about what you are doing with your thoughts. Now, a lot of times you don't feel that it is fair for you to have to take responsibility for what you are doing with your thoughts. In the early stages, Esther would say, but Abraham, it's true. It's true, as if something that is true or something that is really happening deserves a lot of attention. And we said to her, just because it is true would not be our criteria for giving our attention to it, because there are a lot of things that are true. People have manifested them or are manifesting them. Even you may be manifesting them that you don't want to continue to manifest. And so if there is something that you want not to experience, you must withdraw your attention from it. And if there is something that you want to experience, you must give your attention to it. But what trips you up sometimes is that you think you are thinking about what you want, when what's really going on is you are thinking about its absence, because you think the subject is enough. In other words, if I want more money and I'm thinking about money, then shouldn't more money be coming to me? And we say, the way you can tell whether you are on the vibrational end of the stick where abundance is, or whether you're on the vibrational end of the stick where lack of abundance is by the way you feel when you're having the thought. If you are feeling discomfort, you're not thinking about abundance, you're thinking about the absence of abundance. And the more you do that, the more you sort of set into stone. It isn't that way at all, but the more you create a habit of thought, that's what a belief is. A belief is just a thought that you continue to think. And the reason that you continue to think it is because you've already been thinking it. And the reason that you've already been thinking it and you're continuing to think it is because law of attraction is making that thought that you've already been thinking, that you continue to think, more accessible to you to think.
Really, really feel what it would feel like to be in the action of what it is that you are dreaming of. And what does that feel like to be on the career path that is your dream? Or what does it feel like to be doing the work in the world that you've been so longing to bring forth? Or what does it feel like to be spreading an empowering message in a unique and innovative way? And in the process of gathering those feelings, we do it through meditation. Sit in your meditation for 2 to 3 minutes a day and just allow yourself to cultivate the feeling of what it is that you desire. I have had many experiences throughout my life where I've just allowed myself to be in the feeling of service, or in the feeling of excitement of seeing myself on a stage, or in the feeling of seeing myself sitting next to Oprah and doing an interview. And all of those emotional feelings that came forth in my meditations became the manifestations of my life.
To be honest, in the best possible way, I really haven't been able to sleep or eat anything. I mean, I'm taking care of myself, but it's crazy when you really believe in something. It's so different. And not to say that I didn't believe in anything in the past, I just didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know what I was meant to say, how I was supposed to say it. And then once I started experiencing so much, and I knew people were wanting to know what I felt, and I was scared, to be honest. And now to see it come to life, it's crazy.
Not gonna lie though, self-love, I've been very fortunate that self-love has just always been something I've always known. But I think it's also because of my mother and father. Like, my mother and father have been married for 30 years. All I've seen is my dad love my mom one way. All I've seen is my dad love me one way. And I've also been, I'm an independent woman, not over independent though. I don't want to be so independent that it's like, I don't need a man. Like, I want the right man in my life. But, I've just learned that, again, on my toughest days, like when I try to find positivity within myself, and really think about loving myself, like that's always brought in good energy, because you can't depend on someone else to make you happy.
Right.
You're not ever going to do that, so I've kind of always known things to be that way. But the more that I get older, the more that I really understand it, and the more that I can really, really work on that, because you're like, I'm just, like you said, I'm very comfortable with myself. And I feel like I'm going to only get more and more comfortable, which can make me more powerful too, so.
Someone asked me once or many times, I think, what I thought it meant to be an artist. And I said, what I think an artist needs essentially more than discipline or even talent is a perspective. So if you are always changing what you do based on what other people say, you completely lose yourself and you become just, something that's constantly affected by what's around you, as opposed to stable and your own and like autonomous in your identity.
We start to shift our perceptions. When we start to see things with a better perspective, when we start to see our experiences as obstacles turning into opportunities, or a resentment as a divine assignment to forgive more, or a moment of lack as an opportunity to focus on what we're grateful for rather than focus on what we don't have. When we start to make these shifts within our life, what begins to happen is that we begin to have more faith in that way of being. And so the neat thing that occurs, and this has been my experience in the past 6 years of practicing the life of a spirit junkie, is that now my choices, my moment-to-moment choices, are choosing more of a positive perspective. When there's traffic, my first thought is, okay, I welcome the traffic to go away. I start to think about the ways, or if I'm supposed to be late, maybe I'm meant to be there late. Maybe there's something greater coming. Or if something doesn't happen the exact way that I believe it should happen, I know, and my first thought is, there's something way greater coming. So this is just the types of miracles that occur in the ways that your mind begins to shift when you start to practice these principles in your every corner of your life.
I never understood it when people would say, oh, in your 20s, you just need to be alone. And I never quite got it because they would never explain to me that it's so important to define yourself on your own terms. If you think about it, when you're in love, that person's opinion affects your opinions. And everything you do goes through this filter of how would they feel about it. Because if you're a caring person and you're in love, then that's what you do. But there's something really wonderful about changing your life if you want to, cutting your hair short if you want to, moving to New York if you want to, changing directions of your entire creative outlook if you want to, and having it only be on your own terms.
Very strong effort every second to be the nicest person that I can be.
But if it weren't because of my mom, I think that I would have never made it, because she realized that I was talented. But not only that, she supported me, she believed in me, and she went ahead and helped me build my confidence, my own confidence in myself, which is a vital tool that you need in order to survive any kind of job.
I think it's really valuable for us to recognize that when we're on a spiritual path, that's our path, but it's not for everybody. And not everyone wants to know every detail of our path. We have to trust that our shift in perception, our energetic changes, the raising of our own energy will help raise the energy of other people around us. And hopefully we'll start to see how we are no longer an energetic match for the people that don't think and feel the way that we feel. And so slowly we'll begin to see those folks begin to melt away. We'll see them disappear. We'll see them fall off in our life, and we'll see some of our relationships begin to change. And sometimes that's a little bit alarming for people, but it's actually a good sign. It's a sign that you are not stuck in that pattern anymore. It's a sign that your desire to change has been lifted and that you now are vibrating at a new frequency, and those relationships will melt away. If those relationships are still coming up for you while you're in this path of transformation, what I often say is, rather than pointing the finger at those people saying, oh, you're ruining my life, you're making things difficult, my hope and my intention for you would be that you begin to look at those folks and say, what is it about me that is still triggered by their behavior? What is it in me that may be attracting this type of person into my life? What is it within me that is still calling in this kind of experience? And so get honest with yourself. What is it within me that's calling this in? How am I participating in this? And how is this experience coming from a dark corner within my psyche? And recognizing that the outside world is always reflecting our internal condition. And recognizing the mirror, that people are always mirroring back to us what we are feeling. So if she has people coming up into her life, negative friends, people that are jealous, she says negative people randomly popping back in, and she wants to keep them at a distance. Well, the real work is to just open and rev up your practice. Pray for them, extend light to them, and sometimes politely excuse yourself from the experience. Sometimes we have to remove ourselves from those experiences. And then most importantly, ask yourself, what is it within me that may be attracting some of this behavior? Get honest with yourself. Okay.
Not meant to put a goal on your life. You're not meant to say, once I get there, I'll have it all. I think that that's the biggest lesson I've needed to learn, is how to be present in that moment and to know that I'm always going to strive for something. I think everybody who's watched my story, they've seen that not everything has kind of been handed to me. And I've been honest about everything. Some of the things that haven't been me in the past, and other things I've been so passionate about and so spot on with. So if anything, that's what Revival represents. It's that I feel the most confident I've ever felt. And it goes like that. It's like, it's constantly changing. And I don't know, I think that's what I want it to feel like.
be about you. Just be positive, man. Like, even on your worst days, try to find something positive out of them, you know, and try to find a way to keep your head up, you know. I was just saying to another young girl, I was talking like how, you know, we go through a lot as women. We go through a lot as people. And, you know, there could be some like the days that seem like they're your darkest days, but you have to know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And the way that you get closer to that light is just by simply opening your eyes, looking in a positive direction, pushing in a positive direction. Even when you, like, if there's something negative, try to find something positive to counteract it. Like, always try to look on the brighter side of things and love yourself. You know, self-love is the best love you could give yourself. And when you do that, you'll bring in so many great things, you know, and you'll bring in the things that you want to bring in.
No matter what's up, choose to show up with love. Choose to show up with grace. Now, if something really tough is up, maybe just choose to show up with self-compassion. If you're going through something, I'm not going to sit here and recommend that if you're going through a traumatic period in your life, I'm not going to recommend that you wake up and you're like, it's rainbows and butterflies and Gabby Bernstein's Spirit Junkie app. No, that's not what I'm going to match. That's not what I'm going to recommend. What I'm going to recommend is you wake up and you say, I'm going to choose to see myself with love today. I'm going to choose to be compassionate and kind to myself today. I'm going to choose to go slow today. But that's still a very, very mindful morning. Okay, so more in the morning is probably the most crucial time to be conscious of your mindfulness and show up with grace and show up with love and bring it in the morning.
If you believe all your praise, there's nowhere to go. Yeah. You're not going to grow. And if you believe, you know, every negative thing about you, you're not going to get out of bed. So I try to be reasonable. People whose opinion I respect, I listen.
Why? Lots of hard work, lots of determination. I consider myself a laborer of what I do, an artisan. And I think I've been building my career, putting a brick over a brick under the sun with sweat and hard work. That's the way I've done it. And I haven't given up, not one moment. And there must be something very abnormal about this, because it's been so many years doing this and I still care so much. And I don't think that's normal, you know, but with every project, I feel that I haven't accomplished anything, that I feel that I'm starting from zero, and I care tremendously in a way that sometimes it surprises me.
So you feel like you have to prove yourself over and over again?
Yes, I think that I have to be, that I have to embrace new challenges, and those challenges make me grow, and growing is the only way to go, and the only way I conceive life, you know. So yeah, that's the way I see it.
The thing for me is, if something can be going wrong, and I think I don't realize how crazy it is, because I always keep thinking to keep pushing forward, so I don't really get a full idea of how bad it is. But you realize how tough it is when you're like moving forward and you look back and you're like, whoa, like that was really crazy time, like, you know. So that's how I am, because it's like you kind of have to when something does not feel right and it feels like it's not working, you don't know how bad it is, you cannot dwell in that, because that's how people, to me, lose their mind. Like, they go insane.
I just want to constantly have goals to keep reaching them, because I don't want to stop. If I feel settled, then I won't keep going. So yes, personally, there's a lot of things I'd love to do in my life, and professionally, I feel like I've just begun. So there's a lot to come.
I mean, I could go on and on and on. Like, literally feeling like I shrink when a beautiful woman walks in. All of that, you know, it's been a journey, and you have to make a commitment to wanting better than functioning in dysfunction.
We all come to this world with a star, with a talent, and with a gift. And then, later, dreams are born. And absolutely no one has the authority to stop those dreams. You know, when I was 7 years old, I came to Los Angeles for the first time, and I passed by the Walk of Fame with my mother and a friend of hers who's actually here with us today. And I remember that my mom told me, Shaki, one day you're gonna have your name on this place. If someone would have overheard this conversation, they would have thought that my mom was delirious. But she was not. And here we are. So I wanna say to all of you to dream as big as you can.
And it's been the absolute opposite, you know, going from sexual assault victim to rape survivor, going through a divorce, having career setbacks, re-examining why you even are in this business. Who am I? Who do I want to be to the world? That's what we were like, let's just tell it.
Yeah.
Let the chips fall where they may. And I never thought like being honest would have that kind of reaction.
I love what I do so much, and I do want to be successful at it, that it's like I cannot, like when moments like that happen, I cannot I gotta keep pushing. Be about you, just be positive, man. Like even on your worst days, try to find something positive out of them, you know, and try to find a way to keep your head up. You know, I was just saying to another young girl, I was talking like how, you know, we go through a lot as women, we go through a lot as people. And, you know, there could be some like the days that seem like they're your darkest days, but you have to know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And the way that you get closer to that light is just by simply opening your eyes, looking in a positive direction, pushing in a positive direction. Even when you, like, if there's something negative, try to find something positive to counteract it. Like always try to look on the brighter side of things and love yourself. You know, self-love is the best love you could give yourself. And when you do that, you'll bring in so many great things, you know, and you'll bring in the things that you want to bring in.
If I could leave you with anything, is you have to value yourself. And it sounds super cliche and everybody says it, and if you don't value yourself, you don't love yourself, no one's gonna love you. But seriously, like I just realized that at, you know, I got divorced, my show got canceled, had all these terrible things happen, and I hit rock bottom. And what I realized is I'm an educated, amazing, vibrant, relevant person. One bad thing does not define who I am. I am so much more than a failed TV show or a failed marriage or what the blogs say. I'm so much more than that.
How to love myself first. And not just in a relationship, in my everyday life. I give myself so much. I let people pull at me in every direction, and I want everybody to be happy. Mm-hmm. And eventually I would be in my bathroom sobbing right before I'd go on stage. And then I'd just put myself on stage and I'd want to be there for those people. I never took a moment to just go away and be myself and figure it out. I kept pushing myself. And I think the biggest thing I learned is it's okay. I'm going to stop when I need to stop. I'm going to feel when I need to feel. And I don't care what comes with that or what people want to say. It's normal. I'm supposed to keep going, and that's all I want to do.
Gonna lie though, self-love, I've been very fortunate that self-love has just always been something I've always known. But I think it's also because of my mother and father. Like my mother and father have been married for 30 years. All I've seen is my dad love my mom one way. All I've seen is my dad love me one way. And I've also been, I'm an independent woman, not over independent though. I don't want to be so independent that it's like I don't need a man. Like I want the right man in my life. But, you know, I've just learned that, you know, again, on my toughest days, like when I try to find positivity within myself and really think about loving myself, like that's always brought in good energy, because you can't depend on someone else to make you happy.
Right.
You know, everyone to do that, you know? So I've kind of always known things to be that way, but the more that I get older, the more that I really understand it, and the more that I can really, really work on that, you know? Because you're like, I'm just, like you said, I'm very comfortable with myself. And I feel like I'm going to only get more and more comfortable, which can make me more powerful too, so.
Don't you think that the things that we really want should be more accessible, and the things that we don't want so much should be less accessible? And we said, really, that's exactly the way that it is. And Esther said, well, then why don't I know that? And we said, because you're not paying attention to how you feel when you're thinking the thoughts. So Over time, we've been breaking it down for you to understand a little more fully by explaining to you that you were source energy before you came into this body, and the larger part of you still is. Now, if you can accept that, then everything else you hear today will be easy for you to understand. There's a non-physical part of you. Sometimes humans have referred to that part of you as your soul, but it's the eternal part of you who was there before you came into this body and is still there even though you are in this body. It's a part of you who is aware of everything that you're thinking about while you're in this body. So just sit with that for a minute. Here's this non-physical you, and you are an extension of that. So here you are, the extended version of you, the leading edge in this time and space version of you, and you are doing just what you said you would do. You are exploring the variety, and as you explore the variety, you come to your own preferences, whether you're even consciously aware that you're doing it or not, of what you prefer and what you do not prefer. And every time you find, importantly, your personal preference of something, you emanate a vibration. We've been calling them rockets of desire, but you emanate a signal that says, I prefer this. And your inner being, who is always aware of you, becomes a vibrational match to that new and amended, because of the life you just lived, version of your desires. So each time you seek and find a new preference for yourself, the non-physical part of you, the inner being part of you, the soul source energy part of you, becomes the expanded, amended, evolved, improved vibrational version of that. And that's what we refer to as your ever changing and ever growing and ever expanding and ever becoming desires. In other words, that's what the evolution of all species is about. So you know what you don't want, which causes you to know what you do want, and you emanate this rocket of desire. And that is what we've been referring to as step 1 of the creative process. Step 2 is, now that you've emanated this rocket of desire, your inner being holds that newly found, discovered by you, vibration right as you have offered it, and law of attraction causes a melding of all that you've asked for together in what we are calling a vibrational reality. Now, humans are often a little resistant to this vibrational reality because most of you are not able to translate it at first into anything that feels real to you, because you can't see the vibrations or hear them or smell them or taste them or touch them. So you want to call what's already manifested reality, and you want to call this Abraham's delusion or something. But what it is, it's a vibrational version. It is, from our point of view, what really is. It's the new and improved asking. It's where source energy puts all of its attention. It is what is in the state of becoming. And if you could find a way, and we'll show you today how to do it, if you could find a way to be focused upon this vibrational reality, you would feel satisfaction even though it hasn't fully manifested. And in fact, unless you find satisfaction in the not yet fully evolved, so that you can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it version of it, unless you do find satisfaction in that, you are likely to begin, in your awareness of the absence yet of what feels like the real reality to you, you are likely, most of you do it, to push against it without even knowing you are, by noticing that it hasn't happened yet. Because you can't focus upon the becoming of something and the absence of something at the same time. In other words, it's one or the other. And so because you are so enamored, and we understand why you would, this is a beautiful environment. Seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting and touching is the leading edge. It's what you've come for. It is perfect that you want your thoughts to turn to things. It's perfect. That's what this time-space reality really is all about for you. But if you get out there ahead of your vibrational capacity to allow, then you often defeat your own purpose by taking score too soon and then offering a vibration that slows it down rather than allows it in. So step 1 is you ask. Step 2 is source yields it to you in vibrational form. And step 3 is you must be in the receiving mode so that you can be the translator of the vibrational form into the tangible form. That's how creation works, you see. So it's not a difficult thing to understand, really. You got it just now. It is something that you have to practice doing, And the only reason that it gives you any difficulty at all is because you are so accustomed to enjoying your reality that you are translating through your physical senses. What you see with your eyes is a translation of vibration, and we know it's wonderful. Esther said to us the other day, Abraham, I hear you. I've been hearing you. I've been listening to everything that you've said from the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. I hear you. I get this. I think I get this, she said. But I would like you to know that as much as you are excited about my vortex and all of the wonderful things that are in it, and as often as you direct me to its content and ask me to be excited like you are about it, I really like manifestation more. I really like the tangible. And we say, we know you do. That's why you're here. The tangible is important. But you've got to figure out how to get there from there. Sometimes we just want to say, you can't get there from here. You can't get to where you want to be as you are beating the drum of the absence of it. You just cannot get there. You are defying the laws of the...
It's always been interesting to me that when the monks at one point during the rainy season had been in some sort of a jungle and had been encountering all sorts of really nasty spirit entities, that were making life miserable for them. And they ran to the Buddha and said, can we just leave that encampment? It's just too much. It's too scary. And he said, you need to go back, but here. Go back and practice this. And he had them practicing loving kindness, that sensing the space of love, the field of love. As the story goes, the field was so powerful that transformed the energy of the tree spirits and creatures, and they became allies. And it's a happily ever after Buddhist story, but it talks about the power of befriending. So attend, breathe in, feel it, befriend, offer space, say yes, some kindness. So an example that I'd like to share with you is of one woman I worked with some years back. She had gone through a series of really painful relationships, and they all ended, and they all she felt were failures that reflected on her undesirability, her lack of worth. Then she had a 10-year hiatus, from 32 to 42 or something like that. And so it was a long time, and then she began dating. And as you can imagine, in this new round, she was terrified of what was going to go wrong. I mean, she was so set, so primed with fear and fight flight. And her main way of fight flight was this generating all the stories. Like she'd tell herself, I really need to be like this because that's what's going to show that, she had all these ways she wanted to configure herself to be likable. And her fear was he'd see her fear. That was her fear. So when we worked together, and I asked her what was going on, she described the fears. I'm going to blow it. He'll see how afraid I am. He's just being patient right now, but who likes insecure people? This is stuff that I'm sure many of you can relate to. So this was the mental fear body, okay? And in her physical body, she'd say, so the first step was, okay, just say to the thoughts, thank you very much, but not now, and come into the body. That's the first step, just attending, contact, what's here. In her body, as she named it, it was clutching and tightness and pounding. So she'd name it and then say yes. Okay, let's just say, agree to let it be there. Agree to let it be there. And then she'd go off into thoughts again as soon as she was settled into it. And the thoughts she was believing, these are real. This is really what's going to happen. I said, no, wait. You don't have to believe them. Thank you very much. Come back. So that was step one. Recognizing how she left. Thank you very much. Come back. Feel and name and agree to what's here. As she got a little bit of the knack of being with the sensations, and it takes something to stay with unpleasant sensations, then she began to very intentionally become more gentle. And that's what I mean by befriending. In some way there's a sense, just as the gesture of touching your hand on your heart, I should use my right hand, that just like this gesture, in some way she was communicating to the place of fear, it's okay, you can be there. I've done many, many sessions with people where if they can get to the point of like sensing, well, what does the fear most want? Often the fear just wants us to accept that it's there. It's a part of us that just needs to be accepted. So in some way she's saying, okay, you can be here. That's what I mean by befriend. The intention to be kind. And the more she became gentle, and the more she just let it be there, the more she discovered what we call space, a kind of tender space. And as she described it, I get it, that fearful, insecure person is not who I am.